Not a whole hell of a lot has changed since the last episode last week. I thought we were moving in the right direction. Here in the state of Pennsylvania, we went from yellow phase to green phase, but there really wasn't a whole lot of difference between those phases. And our governor and overlord Tom Wolf is really clamping down, still fearful of this Wuhan virus, so much so that the House legislature has ruled against him, claiming he's overreached his power, and now there's a battle going on in Harrisburg over who gets to say what and who gets to do what, and it's a real mess. And that same kind of political mess is tying over into the movie industry. The only person who has made it a definite commitment is Christopher Nolan. His Tenet is opening July 17th. Regardless of whether theaters are open or not, he's sticking to that date and he's not delaying it. Some AMC theaters, which during the height of the virus were on the verge of declaring bankruptcy, are now starting to open. The rules and regulations for attending an AMC theater are bizarre. The theater can only operate at 25% capacity or 100 people, whichever is less. You must wear a mask in the theater while the movie is playing, going in and out of the theater and during that. This is going to make it exceptionally difficult to have popcorn and drink drinks, and I'm sure the concession stands can't be too happy about this. And it doesn't look like any of these rules, regulations, restrictions, if you will, are going to lift up anytime soon. I think given that option, a lot of people are going to say, you know what? I'll stream this at home and watch it there. It's just working out a whole lot better. And that's why I'm telling you that every movie I give to you tonight, you can watch in the comfort and the safety of your own home. And I have a veritable plethora for you, ranging from comedy to horror and everything in between, as cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Fiore, your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. Tonight, let's start off with a horror movie that is quite simply horrible. The film is called The Luring, and it was written, directed, and produced by Christopher Wells. Chris just missed all of the throws on this one, struck out at the plate. There are a multitude of subplots and major plots that are never resolved in this movie. And if the script itself wasn't bad, Lucas Labataglia serves as the editor, and this guy just botches it up further. The audio between segments and the edits doesn't match up. The segments themselves don't match up. It's just you had a bad script and it was put together even worse. The name of the movie is called The Luring. Roll tape.
We love it up here. It's just so beautiful and peaceful.
Beautiful and peaceful. Yeah. I guess you could say that.
There was an unfortunate accident that happened in the house a while back involving a child.
Say the other day I was hanging around with we were having a bro night is what we were having, and the conversation started to wane. We decided to watch a movie. And we watched a movie called Upgrade. Now, I don't know if you'll remember this movie or not. It came out a couple of years ago. I did a review on it, which is still online. You could check it out. But this was a really, really good science fiction movie. And coincidentally, after our bro night and rediscussing the many values of this movie Upgrade, I received word from the studio that they are making a sequel. But there's a catch. The sequel will not be a movie, but rather a TV series. And it will start off with the advanced STEM trying to find a new host. I think that will be kind of interesting, as long as they keep those production values up, and we may be able to see the sequel to Upgrade in TV form. Speaking of TV, you know one of the biggest shows on TV is pro wrestling. Any pro wrestling fans out there? No? Okay, well. So what do we do if we jump on the bandwagon for pro wrestling but throw in a little bit of a horror element? What if somebody who wanted to be a pro wrestler, but you know what, just really doesn't have the skills and maybe is a little long on the tooth to be getting into the game, is suddenly infused with demonic power and able to make all the wrestling moves fatal? Wow, that is the whole concept behind Wrestle Massacre. Folks, this is also a terrible script. It really is. If it sounded silly when I was saying it, you have no idea how bad it really is. Brad Twigg is the director and the editor of this movie. I have to think that he did this totally as a joke. At least I hope so. The movie opens with a great gore scene, and you think it's going to be a gore fest, but you don't see any more gore until the end of the film and the final reel. And what happens in between is just nonsense. Here's a look at Wrestle Massacre.
I heard about your landscaping business you're dealing with.
He did a great job in the yard. He was just a little different.
His penchant for wrestling is a bit disturbing, don't you think?
To each his own, I guess. It was Randy. He tore them all apart.
Probably one of the hardest things to do is to make a good comedy movie. I don't mean just a comedy, I mean a comedy concert. You know, when these comedians go out and they do one of their shows, they have it all taped, and then they kind of mismash it all together into an hour or so. And that's exactly what Jamie Kennedy has done. I have to admit that, his big claim to fame was that he was in Tremors 6, which I've seen, but I really don't remember him in it. So he does a stand-up comedy routine in a movie called Stupid Smart. And some of the topics that he goes into are robots, the uselessness of college degrees, and a nice little segment on his 8-hour date. I have to tell you, I got a few chuckles out of this one. It's called Stupid Smart. Roll tape.
I have starred in movies. I have had my own television show. But tonight, I'm playing the back of a bowling alley in Huntington Beach. I don't know if I'm ready to be married yet, I grew up in the 80s, I still feel like I'm 16, It's part of a breakdance crew. When you're in the breakdance, when people challenge you to do something, you battle. They make you do something you don't want to do. So that, isn't that like marriage every night? My wife would be like, "You're not to do the dishes." I'm like, "Nuh-uh."
Say, speaking of really stupid comedies, I got to tell you about The King of Staten Island. This is Judd Apatow, and I know there are a lot of people out there who really like his movies. He did The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Trainwrecked, Knocked Up. And I got to tell you that I've seen all those movies. They had a couple of laughs in them, but I just don't see them as, endearing comedies to last forever and things that are, are solid. I digress. The King of Staten Island is really bad. They're heralding it as Judd's finest movie. No, I think it's actually one of his worst. He's brought out Pete Davidson in this, and it's the same old, folks. It's the doper slacker movie that he introduced Seth Rogen with, and it's just on steroids. This movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long. Way too long for this type of movie. There are 3 funny scenes in this movie. Okay? It begins with the fight at the restaurant, and the other 2 are at the firehouse. Okay? The total time of those 3 funny scenes is about 8 minutes. So for 8 minutes out of 2 hours and 15, Judd hits the mark, and he actually has a comedy going there. The rest of it, oh my God, it's as painful as root canal. The name of the movie is The King of Staten Island. Go.
I like your tattoos. What are those numbers on your arm?
Oh, that's the date my dad died. He was a fireman. Died in a fire 17 years ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. It's fine.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not your dad.
You ever think about putting on the jacket? Why would you even ask me that?
What's wrong with being a fireman?
It's fine if you don't have kids, because you don't know if you're going to come home or not.
And let me tell you something. Your dad was a hero. And heroes are necessary. And they should be allowed to have families.
I just feel like everybody's always disappointed in me, and I never live up to anybody's expectations. Hey, thanks for listening to all this. You're one of the few people who treat me, like a person.
You're welcome.
One of the directors we like to follow on the show here is Eli Roth. He follows us on Facebook and everything, so we kind of like to say, hey, guys ever play a video game called Borderlands? You ever play Borderlands? Well, they're making a movie out of it. And Eli has been put in the helm. Who else is in this? Cate Blanchett. That's a pretty big name for a movie that's based on a video game. She's going to have the role of Lilith. Lilith is a siren and a thief with magical skills, but of course she is. The Borderlands is in production now. We can look for it next year. Eli does some pretty good stuff. If he's involved in it, there's going to be an awful lot of blood and gore and happy stuff like that. A couple of shows back, I told you about a new TV series that was debuting on a new streaming service called Topic. Well, the folks at Topic have 2 more series on there that I want to bring you up to date with. The first is called A State of Happiness. This is actually a drama, a little bit of comedy thrown in, but it's kind of like a soap opera for adults. And it takes place back in the 70s with the big oil companies, especially Phillips Petroleum, and their wells in Norway. It's from Norway, so part of it's in English, and the other part you're going to have to read the subtitles. But there's 4 main characters, and of course there's political and business managerial intrigue, shall we say, and of course romance along with it. Well, if you like those types of shows, like Dallas used to be, you may find this one worthwhile. The one that I liked even better is one called The Day, and it comes from Belgium. You're going to have to read this one because it has not been dubbed into English, but it's worthwhile. It's all about a hostage situation in a bank, and it obviously happens in one day. There's 10 episodes to this, but the odd episodes are presented from the perspective of the police, and the even episodes are presented from the perspective of the hostage takers inside the bank. I found this one really, really interesting, and they did a really clever job with it. Here's a look at both The State of Happiness and The Day.
You need to be where it all plays out.
Stavanger?
Stavanger. It's a small fishing village. It's religious, rainy, cold. No real summers, no real winters, no bars.
Sounds great.
I kveld kunne oljearbeiderne for første gang se gassen brenne.
Vi lever på det mest spennende stedet. I den mest spennende tida i verden. Akkurat nå.
Hallo? Er klopt iets niet aan heel die situatie. Er klopt echt iets niet.
Het is nu niet het moment om te panikeren, hè, makker? Heb die gast niets door?
Nee. Er zijn niet zoveel mensen die weten wat er in die kluis ligt.
Wat doe jij hier? Hij heeft tot nu toe het gevoel dat hij de touwtjes in handen heeft.
Zeg maar tegen uw chef dat hij zijn teken van goede wil kan krijgen.
Hoor je dat? Als mijn pistool niet tegen dat meisje naar de kop
staat, ik maak er kapot!
Now, for this next movie, I really have to give you a bit of a caveat. Back when the Wuhan virus originally broke, Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson, came out with a statement that they had contracted the disease and they were self-quarantining themselves for like 2 weeks or something to that nature. And then reports came out afterwards that they didn't test positive at all and that it was all kind of a publicity thing and something just wasn't right about it. And then quickly after that, it disappeared altogether from the news feeds. Well, Rita is out with a movie called A Simple Wedding. Folks, I'm not exactly sure why she opted to put this out, especially at this time. What you basically have with this movie is a very simplistic template for a rom-com, but where it veers off the path is that it involves a family, an Iranian family, their culture and everything. And what Rita does in this movie is she celebrates Iran's culture and religion to the point where she puts down American culture and religion. Not sure why she did this, especially at a time when Iran is rattling its sabers and causing a little problems and again threatening nuclear weapons. But she doesn't stop there. Rita goes even further and she exhorts and praises homosexuality and especially bisexuality. In fact, she goes so far as to say that the ideal man is a bisexual. I'm not quite sure these are the mores that you want coming through in a movie that is supposed to be a rom-com. And then finally, and probably the most damaging, she puts in a message here that destroys the family unit, you know, mom, dad, and kids. And this is something that the progressives have always tried to do, because if they can break the family unit, they can destroy the culture. And she replaces the family unit with tribalism. I can't think of anything more third world than this. Why she put out this movie with all of these themes in it is totally beyond me, but it was absolutely horrendous to watch. A Simple Wedding. Roll tape.
I think that...
You may not be the best fit for our Kamran.
Is your mother breaking up with me?
We want the ring back.
Oh.
Give it back. Give it back.
You should try again. You're running out of time.
Elishko, she's a lesbian.
You don't know yet who you are or what you want.
I really want a cheeseburger right now. I know that.
I grew up in Orange County, but my parents are from Iran. You know, the super peaceful country in the Middle East, never in the news.
I've heard of it.
He's this free-spirited artist who's funny and gentle and sensitive and progressive. I'm from a family of fascists, so we're gonna Mussolini him out of my life.
میخوای عروسی کنی مادر قبل از اینکه من بمیرم؟
You're not gonna die.
Oh yes I will.
She might. Love is about sacrifice, understanding, and forgiveness.
Do you think our families are too different?
I want you to be happy.
Yeah, he makes art out of balloons.
I didn't follow that.
He's really excited to meet your family.
So I know what you're doing. You're sitting there at home and you're saying, how much longer are we going to have to watch The Professor like this? Well, I'm happy to report this will be the last show, if everything goes okay, that you'll have to look at this raggedy mop on my head. House of Fairuza is now open since we're in the green phase. And the first thing I'm going to do when I get myself out of the studio is book a haircut, because there is nothing better than getting a professional haircut and shave from Sam down at House of Fairuza. Hey, this is a great place to go. You know, when you're all done with that, there's the cigar lounge, too. You can get yourself a nice, fine cigar. Make a whole afternoon out of it. Ladies have been doing this stuff for years at the beauty parlor. So it's time we men get the same kind of treatment. This is, I've got to get there. First off, I got to do something with this and then just chill out and relax. It'll be nice to get out again. The House of Fairuza Barbershop and Cigar Lounge. They're on South Park Road, right where South Park meets with Drake Road there, across the street from the Ruth Fred Market. You be sure to stop out. See Sam, tell him I sent you along there, and he'll take pretty good care of you. You know Black Ops? Special Forces, SAS, Delta Force, that type of stuff. Yeah, they don't allow women in those because women can't pass the test. You can stand up and scream equal rights and all that you want, but they can't get the job done. They're just not built for it. But that doesn't stop this movie from putting 4 women, 4, count them, on a Black Ops team. And you sit there and shake your head and go, you know, really, this stuff is nonsense. Just quit it, okay? Stop it. Black Ops is a politically correct version of, if you will. It comes from our fine folks across the pond in the UK, and I guess we can classify this as a horror film, because what we have is a Black Ops team putting forth a mission in Eastern Europe. Okay, something goes a little askew with the mission, and before you know it, we're caught in a time warp, and our Black Ops team has to keep repeating the segment of the mission in Eastern Europe until they get it right. Now, that sounds like an awful lot of movies we've seen before, like Edge of Tomorrow and what have you. But the catch to this one is, in the plot is the Witch of Death. Oh, yeah. So we not only are caught in a time warp, but we're caught there with a demon. Not good. The movie is called Black Ops. Let's take a look.
Drop some lead to these slimy bastards. Go, go, go.
Shooter.
Is that what I think it is?
They call her the Prophet of Death. This situation and what we did are connected. I always said I'd follow you into hell.
Come on, we gotta go!
I just never thought you'd actually take us there.
I've talked about an awful lot of movies tonight, and most of them haven't been what you would call stellar, okay? So I'd like to end tonight's episode on a high note, and much to your surprise, I'm sure, as it was to mine, this movie is from Disney. Yeah. Since the years of Michael Eisner, I have been railing against Disney, putting all their leftist, progressive propaganda into their movies and trying to indoctrinate kids into a new world order. This movie has none of it. I am so thankful, and it shows how good movies can be made coming out of the Disney studio if they just stop all that propaganda nonsense. Kenneth Branagh helms this thing. And I'm pretty sure he's the reason you don't see all these agendas inserted into the movie. He takes total control of his films. I got to tell you, Josh Gad is in this. I'm not a big fan of Gad. At least I wasn't until I saw this movie. In this movie, he's great. And if they do the sequels to this, I hope he comes back and reprises his role. He's really that good. I'm talking about Artemis Fowl. And most of you know that these are kids' stories. There was the original publication were 8 different novels, and this version takes the storylines from the first 2 novels, combines them together into one tale. This is a very fast-paced movie. It's only 90 minutes long, and they're sticking an awful lot of info in here. So don't be too surprised if you're showing the little ones this. You may have to pause it every now and then and bring them up to speed and let them know what's going on, because it's quick. But there's a good part to this, because what it means is if you have to take your little ones or your grandchildren to a movie, this will be a good one because you'll enjoy it a lot. I had a great time with this one. I thought it was probably the best thing Disney has put out in a good number of years. Kenneth Branagh directs Artemis Fowl.
We want to know everything about the man you work for. The man? Oh no. This isn't about the father. This is about the son, Artemis Fowl.
You've grown strong, son. And smarter than I ever imagined.
Then take me with you.
You're all I have now, Artie. There's just one very important thing I have to do.
Authorities launched a worldwide manhunt for the famous collector. He is suspected to have been behind some of the biggest robberies ever.
Dad. Now look around, this is what they call greatness. But we are not alone in this. Mulch Diggum's just a talented giant dwarf.
And I'm Holly Short, your ally on the other side. It's real. All right, save my father, save the world.
Whole team ready, tell them we on deck. Scared, Artemis?
I prefer scared to dead.
An army is coming.
You think you can beat us? We'll see. Who do you think you are?
I'm the next criminal mastermind.
Now look around, this is what they call greatness.
I didn't read much on trolls. Anything I should look out for?
The teeth.
They eat people. Good to know.
Look who's come back to the studio, and that means only one thing. I'm fresh out of time. So we've got to wrap up this edition of Outtakes with Fiore, but I'll be back soon again because I already have 3 more movies to talk about and not the time to do it. According to Bear, we got to skedaddle. So I'll say, now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson. Wave goodbye.